was washing my hands. Well, hey everybody, it's 3 p.m. and it's time for dinner with Nanny Bubby. Let me get my headset and I'll be right with you. We've got so much going on in Nanny Bubby's kitchen today, you would not believe it. Okay, let me bring you up to speed. I know that today, I promise you, well, yesterday when I signed off, hold on here. Yesterday when I signed off, let me see if I can hear you. Give me a thumbs up. Yep. Okay. Hey, Susie, can you hear me okay? If you can, that's a good sign. So I know when I left yesterday, hey, Frank, hey, Susie, all the regulars are showing up here. So happy to have you. Let me switch my apron around. I forgot to do that. Also, Facebook has changed once again, and I can't post the description of what I'm going to be talking about. So there's that today of all days. And yesterday it happened too. So I'm sure by next week they'll have it all corrected. So anyway, I know yesterday when I signed off, what I promised you is that today I was going to be making ratatouille, vegetable ratatouille, because I pulled these beautiful aubergine eggplant right out of Nanny Bubby's garden. It's the end of the season. They're so beautiful. And I wanted to make a beautiful roasted ratatouille. But in the middle of the night, I woke up and said, I've got a bunch of young families, not a bunch, but handful of young families who are coming over on Sunday for the final night of Hanukkah. We're going to take all the menorahs from every family and light them up, which ends up having this big, beautiful bonfire of all these menorahs with all 8 candles in it, and it's all so lovely. And I thought, okay, I'm making a brisket, I'm making a kale salad, I'm getting the latkes and a few other things from Bagel Mania. But I thought, you know what? Instead of making the latkes, what I really want to make is homemade applesauce. So I've already started, and I will tell you that I have already a bowl, or if you would, this is Ina Garden's recipe. So I have already chopped up, hey Mark Goldberg, I've already chopped up about 6 Granny Smith apples. I'm keeping them covered so they don't get too brown. And it's a combination of red sweet apples and the Granny Smith apples and some orange zest and orange juice. I have my juicer right over here. And thank you very much, Susie. And I have the zester out. We're going to use some cinnamon. We're going to use some allspice right here. And so without any further ado, now that everybody is tuning in, I am going to continue. So where I left off. So I have, I just wanted to show you, I've got all of these red apples. I've got about 6 red apples left to go. But I started with the Granny Smith. And thank you for the compliment on the hair. Could always use a hair compliment, right? Okay. So I use this apple slicer because I feel like it really, let me just tip it down just a little bit. And what I find is that it's really easy to core the apples if you use the apple slicer. Pull them just right through like this. And then instead of using a peeler, what I do is I take a paring knife and I just peel off and it's so easy just to take the skins right off the apples, just all in one fell swoop. And it saves time that way because nobody wants to be standing for too long. And speaking of standing for too long, yesterday was a 2-hour marathon for me, wasn't it? On Instagram for an hour and then back here with you guys for an hour. But I'll tell you, I had so much fun, and I hope everybody is considering possibly coming to the holiday gather. There's going to be so much fun, talk, laughter, free cocktail recipe when you pay to join, and the first 5 people get a one-on-one with me. But anyway, it was a very exciting 2 days for me. Worked very hard to make a good presentation. So I hope that you got I did 5 secrets here on Facebook, but the next day, by the time I got to Instagram, I had a 6th secret. And that secret is putting love into everything you do. You know, sometimes I get kind of stressed when I'm cooking, especially for an event or for people coming over. And I only start thinking about, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to get done? Have I done enough? Oh, dropped an apple. Um, and I forget to stop and breathe and just put love into everything that I'm doing. So, oh, Laura Grau is here. I haven't seen Laura in so long. There we go. Lisa is here. Lucy is here. Okay, I couldn't see all of that. Facebook changed again today, and I can't. If you notice, usually when you come in, there's a little, it's time. It's 3 p.m. time for dinner with Nanny Bubby, and then I give you a description of what it is I'm cooking. But they have not allowed that description in the last 2 days. I mean, go figure, right? Remember a couple weeks ago, I couldn't flip my apron for all of you. So, every day with Facebook is a new adventure. Their technology just kind of changes and has a little blip on the radar, and I have to change it back again. So I am making homemade applesauce. So I promised vegetable ratatouille today, but because I had pulled these beautiful, I mean, really, can you believe how gorgeous these are? This is the end of the season. Those are the last 3 eggplant. I think there's one more out there. But I promised to do the ratatouille, but I woke up in the middle of the night and realized that I'm having about a handful of young families for the last night of Hanukkah on Sunday. It's my favorite thing to do, where everybody brings their own menorah, their own candles, and their own lighter, because I don't have enough lighters for everybody. And we light every menorah all at the same time, and it's like a bonfire, and it's so fun, and it makes it so festive, and it's so fun and creative, and it's just a blast. And so I'm not making my own latkes. I'm getting latkes from Bagel Mania, mini latkes. They make mini latkes. And I woke up in the middle of the night and thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make my own applesauce. So that's what I'm making here today, homemade applesauce. So I have 8 Granny Smith apples and 8 Macintosh apples, because they're very sweet. The red is very sweet and wonderful. And I'm putting them into this roasting pan and keeping them covered just so that they don't turn brown before we get them into the pot and into the oven. So let's see. Mark says, missed you yesterday. I was getting my immunotherapy infusion and couldn't sleep last night because of the steroids. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Mark. But I'm glad that you're here today. And if today is putting a smile on your face, then my being here today makes me feel very, very good. So I know all of our gatherers wish you well, wish you a speedy recovery, and it's really good to have you here. Oh, okay. Oh, so the red apples, Sherry Barusa is here. Barasa, sorry, Sherry. Anyway, so I hope all of you are considering, if you will, maybe joining Nanny Bubby's Gather on December 14th. For a great 2 hours of fun and cooking holiday gathering, sharing our successes, laughing at our failures over the years. I know I have plenty of failure stories that'll put you in stitches, I'm sure. And where I'm going to make a fabulous side dish for everybody and share that recipe, a great appetizer. I'm going to discuss some hacks about making a great turkey. If you're going to be doing a turkey for your Christmas dinner, you'll have to share with me your ham recipe, because I don't cook ham. Um, and prime rib. So prime rib is our go-to. It used to be prime rib and lasagna for Christmas, but my daughter, being the vegetarian that she is, we can't do lasagna anymore. So, and there's not a good vegetarian lasagna that everybody else would enjoy. So we usually do salmon. She's doing it this year. Um, and so our traditions have changed over the years a little bit, as I'm sure everybody's has. And it's really fun. So this homemade applesauce is, and you will find the link in this video, by the way, because I know that it's like, okay, I want to sign up, but where do I do it? Well, the link will be posted after this video is over. Then Facebook will allow me to go back in and put the description into the video, and why that's happening, I have no idea, but the link will be there. It'll say it's time for dinner with Nanny Bubby, making homemade applesauce today for the latkes, and then it will say, and if you want to join the gather, the link will be right below that, and it would be there now. I don't ever stop complaining about Facebook, and I swear one day they're just going to say, we've had enough of her complaints, we're going to knock her off the air. But every day it's a new adventure. So tell me, um, what so has anybody started shopping? Has anybody started shopping right now for the holidays? If you have, because I have done nothing between Thanksgiving and Harmony's birthday and then the presentation on Wednesday and Thursday, I literally have done nothing. So what great finds? Let's talk about that. Like, I'm the worst shopper and I hate to shop. I love new things, but I hate to shop for them. No shopping for Susie. Um, let's see. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Like I wish I could be like Oprah's favorite things. Anybody else find something out there that would be great? Sherry Barasa, who hasn't been here in a really long while, is back. So good to see you, Sherry. And I'm thinking, like I really wish Oprah, I suppose you could Google Oprah's favorite things. She probably still has a list that's out there, right? All online. But what if you find you're almost done all online? Oh my God, Lisa. Well, what are you finding out there that is a great like gift, like something everybody needs to have? I am wondering what that is, seriously, because every year it seems like I find something and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to have this in the family. And I'll go out and get everybody, something, the same thing. I don't know, but I am at a loss. So talking about that, what are you finding, Lisa? All online. I just hate to shop online because I'm just like, sometimes the description, unless I've actually seen it, felt it, know it, then I don't trust it. I think I'm a kinesthetic shopper. Does that make sense, Lisa? I'm somebody that needs to see it, feel it, and experience it before I actually buy it. Because I want to make sure. And so many times when you buy things online, they end up not being what you think they are. So give me your thoughts on that. Okay, I've got 4 more red apples to go, and then we'll be able to move on with this homemade applesauce. So what we're going to do with this, let's see. Lisa says clothes for the kids always works, and then all their toys and games. Yes, very true. We can do that. And Lucy said, finally started. I like to do gift baskets with goodies that appeal to the people you're giving to. Add in kitchen gadgets for sure. Or special ornaments. Very good. I like that. And then Lisa said, need to touch. I understand. Yes, I know. I never realized that about myself, but the whole online shopping for me. Anybody else? Anybody else, like, does the online shopping bother you or do you love it? There's some things. Harmony is a really good online shopper. I'm just not. Harmony's a good shopper overall. I just never have been. I need someone to hold my hand. Always. I just cannot. It's so funny. I'm a very decisive person, but shopping, that's why I've always used a personal shopper when it comes to clothes, is because I really need somebody to hold my hand and just kind of like, I can't go through all of those racks of clothes. It drives me crazy. Like, just bring me what's on the mannequin and I'm done. That's just always been my shopping mode. Yep, the weather in Las Vegas is fantastic. It's been warm. So we haven't had a cold spell yet. I'm waiting for it. I hope it doesn't come on Sunday because I'm planning on lighting this menorah bonfire outside. And yes, need to touch, I understand. So anybody else, Laura Grau, anybody who's finding something for shopping that might be grand? I don't know. Okay, so we have 3 more red apples to go. Now, here's the key with this recipe. As I'm peeling them, and I will show you the big barrel of all of this in just a moment that I have working here. I'm keeping it covered because it keeps it from turning brown faster, and I don't want it to turn brown before I get the orange zest and the orange juice into the into the pan here. And then we're going to put it all right into a Dutch oven. And believe it or not, this is going to bake at 350 for about an hour. And then you just take a whisk and just whisk it down. That is it. So it's really easy. The long time of it is actually the peeling of the apples, but what's great about this is this apple core that you see right here, which is a wonderful little kitchen gadget. When it comes to things like this, especially like even when I made the homemade cranberry sauce, it's really easy because you're able to core. So all of this skin goes into the compost basket here, and what I'm going to do is the recipe calls, of course, all of these were washed with food grade hydrogen peroxide before you got here. And this recipe calls for these skins to be peeled off 2 apples. I'm going to do 3 because I think that the skin adds color to the applesauce, and I really like the idea of that. So I'm going to use 3 apples and their skins, even though there's 8 red apples and 8, hey, Patty Insalacco, good to see you here. With 1 Insalacco comes all the Insalacos. I love that. So I'm going to use 3 apples because I think that the extra color makes it almost look like raspberry applesauce, and so I'm going to love that. And also there's pectin contained into the skins, so here we go. This skin here has a little divot in it, probably from when I was getting out the, this is already brown from probably a bruise, so we'll cut that out. But you know those tags, those sticky tags, they're so hard to get off. And so I think that that's what that divot was. So how many of you, tell me, how many of you, this is my first attempt, this is Ina Garden's recipe, but how many of you have ever made homemade applesauce in the chat? Type a 1 if you've ever made homemade applesauce. And if you have, let's see how many 1s we get. I'll keep an eye out here so I can ask my question to see who's done it before. This is my first attempt. Oh, Lucy has done it. Okay. Who else? Anybody else? Okay, Lucy, you can start. What recipe did you use? Do you have an old Insalacco family recipe that you used, or where did you find the recipe? Let's hear it. So while Lucy is writing that, I just want you to know that I am making the Brussels sprout stalks that I made just the other day. Hey, Teresa Anderson, there you are. Nice to see you. Okay, so the skin from 3 of these apples is going to go in. We're going to take it out before we mash it, the skins, but we're putting them in. Teresa, since you just joined us, we're making homemade applesauce using Ina Garden's recipe here. I know I promised at the end of the show yesterday that I was going to make vegetable ratatouille, but I woke up in the middle of the night and said, I'm having a final night Hanukkah party on Sunday night, and I'm not making the latkes. I've ordered them from Bagel Mania, which makes the best latkes ever in history, and they're mini latkes, so it's really fantastic. And I thought, you know what I'm going to make, because I'm just having a handful of young families, and I saw my grandson last night eat applesauce that I had for the first night of Hanukkah when we had just all gotten back to town, and I didn't have time to do anything, so I ran out, bought some applesauce, made some boxed latkes, and last night he was eating the applesauce and he loved it. And I thought, every kid loves applesauce. And wouldn't all those kids love homemade applesauce, right? So we're doing a donut making, make your station, like a donut making station, so all the kids can make their own sprinkles and powdered sugar and whatever else. And the way that I am making these donuts myself, like, don't go, oh my God, she's amazing. She makes her own donuts. So I don't know how many of you have ever seen the bag of Rhodes dinner rolls that are frozen. So you just take the Rhodes dinner rolls that are frozen and you defrost them. I'm going to defrost about 18 of them, not even 2 dozen, but about 18. And you let them start rising. So you got to read the directions because you don't want them to rise too much. I understand if they rise too much, it's a problem. And then you literally put them in hot oil like you're making donuts. And that's it. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to have chocolate a chocolate syrup station, you know, a dulce de leche. Did I say that right? Station, sprinkles, powdered sugar, um, sprinkle everything. Okay, let me see. We made it first as a class in kindergarten. We made regular and cinnamon flavored. Now I cheat and use Google and find an easy recipe. Okay. Frank says he's never made applesauce, and I may need to make some tonight. Yes. And Patty says just last week I made warmed apples for breakfast and cut in chunks, sprinkled sugar and cinnamon. I wonder if I should split this applesauce, right? And although I'm not sure that we ever use cinnamon applesauce for latkes, I don't think that goes well. So I guess maybe I'll do a little bit just as a side dish for the kids, who will have chicken nuggets for the kids. And anyway, I'm worried that I'm not going to have enough food, and I always have too much food, so I'm trying not to panic. I started making my brisket at noon today. I burned my hand in 5 places already. And I'm looking at that brisket and I'm thinking to myself, this brisket is way too small. Usually I make 3 or 4 of them, but I usually have 40 people. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I never know the answer to cooking enough and not cooking too much, or cooking too little and being embarrassed, which did happen to me. As you know, if you watched yesterday's masterclass, did happen to me years ago. So it's probably why I'm panicky always about running out of food. But we shall see. I mean, the point is that in the middle of COVID, what we've learned is that not everything has to be perfect. It's just that we're all together, we're celebrating tradition, we're making memories for the young members of our family, passing down traditions from years and years, thousands of years, right? For everything, all these traditions all date back. Teresa loves homemade applesauce. And so what recipe do you use? Usually Teresa pulls out a grand old recipe. So there we go. Oop. I'm losing my technique, but it's the last red apple, so I guess I'm in good shape here. So again, I have 8 Granny Smiths, 8 Macintosh, sweet red apples. I am saving the skin of just 3 of them. Recipe calls for 2, but I'm going to use 3 and we're putting just the skin of the 3 red apples into the pan to cook. So there we go. All right, so now everything into the pan. I'm keeping it right here covered, as you can see. It will be a beautiful dinner. Thanks, Judy, for the encouragement. How are you? Just seeing that you're here right now. Sometimes I don't see everybody. Yesterday on Instagram, I had 42 people join the live, and from my perspective, until I look back, I could only see 4 people. So let me wash my hands, or actually not yet. I'm not going to wash them yet. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take these oranges right here. Let me move this so that all of you can see. Let me get this all out of the way here. And we're going to take this big roasting pot. Look at all these beautiful apples. There we go. Teresa, what recipe do you usually use? So I'm going to take this, and now I'm going to zest 2 large navel oranges, and then I have my handy little juicer right over here, and we're going to juice both of these oranges and put them right over the apples. That will keep them, I'm told, from turning red, or turning brown rather. So let's get and we got to be careful not to get that white pith because as you know, that white pith is very bitter. So the key is to get just the orange and don't shave down to the white. And you know, that's a technique because when you use some of now this time of year, these oranges are very thick skinned. And so you don't get quite down to the white pith, which is good because you can see that pith is still very orange. So I feel like I'm getting my technique down here right now, which is a good thing. So zesting this, get zest, you know, everywhere, right by the navel. Anywhere you can pick up some of that zest. We're going to get it into this roasting pan. And I am thinking to myself, why am I going to transfer this into a Dutch oven, right? Like, why am I dirtying 2 pots? I can just cover this and put it into the oven. How about that, everybody? Although, maybe I really need a tight seal. So we'll see. We'll use our instincts and intuition and figure it out when we get to it, whether or not I'm going to take this and dump it into the roasting Dutch oven as opposed to just the enameled big roasting pan. So let's see. We shall see. Okay, that's 1 orange. Let's make sure I get it all. No white pith, but just everywhere there's nice orange zest skin. Again, I was very careful to clean this very well with my food grade hydrogen peroxide because we're using the outer zest. Okay, there we go. That's it. Okay, starting with the second one. Okay, so Teresa hasn't told us which recipe, but I am making warm applesauce, homemade applesauce for Sunday's Hanukkah dinner. It's very traditional to serve either sour cream or applesauce, mostly applesauce because kids don't really like sour cream. With the latkes, I'm going to make a latke charcuterie board for the adults, but for the kids, I'm just making homemade applesauce. And what's really great about that is that I'm also going to put a big bowl of applesauce out just for them to eat because last night my grandson was eating the applesauce that I had bought just a few last week for the first night of Hanukkah because I didn't have time to make anything. Everything was box latkes. I mean, it was just, sometimes I hope they don't. You know, sometimes I always say they know the difference. But that night I was hoping they didn't know the difference because I think Hanukkah actually started Sunday night, and we had just gotten home from Thanksgiving from being away, so it was a rush to the finish line on that one. But you know, speaking of which, Nanny Bubby was born today, 7 years ago. Sorry, I keep losing the video. Oh, I'm so sorry, Teresa. I wonder if anybody else is having that problem. Maybe I'm hoping it's just your internet. So today is Dollface's 7th birthday. Can you imagine? It's like unbelievable to think that it's gone so fast. I know those of you who have children and grandchildren know just how quickly it goes. And then tomorrow, December 4th, is Mr. President's 2nd birthday. They were born one day apart, but 5 years apart. 1 day and 5 years. Or 5 years and 1 day. So, okay, can you see this? Can you see all the orange zest sitting in this over here? We'll spread that around. I'm going to just grab a knife here and cut these oranges. There we go. And so I think I am going to go ahead and place this into the Dutch oven. And the reason why is because, let me turn you around here. There we go. Is because I'm going to want to rewarm this on Sunday. Making it, you know, a day or two ahead is no big deal. Oh, did that really just happen? It did. Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Okay. That scared the heck out of me. All right. There we go. I love this juicer. You know I love this juicer, and I will remind you how easy this is. There we go. Sometimes it works better than others. Whoa. Okay, there's one. Well, let's hope this one goes better. She was. And tell me what picture and what row Teresa was in. I could have had a hard time even finding myself. So I was at second from the bottom, one in, right? Um, so what row is Teresa in, Mark? That's so funny. I still have that same picture, believe it or not. And by the way, I was at my granddaughter's school today where my son had Mr. Bissell in the 5th grade, which was all of our 5th grade teacher. And we were talking about Mr. Bissell. And I said, you know, it's crazy, but our class reunions come, and here it is, you know, all these years later. And when kids get together, one of their favorite topics, kids, I'm calling us still kids, can you imagine? But one of our favorite topics is always talking about Mr. Bissell still. And he's such a cutie pie, that guy. He wasn't such a cutie pie back when he was our teacher, right? We were all scared of him, but he turned out to be quite the cutie pie as we all became adults. We realized what a commitment he had to all of us, right? Teresa and Mark, wow, I haven't heard Mr. Bissell in a long time. Well, listen, Teresa, my son, Russell, our son, I would say my son, my daughter, but our son, our daughter, had Mr. Bissell in the 5th grade at the Meadows School. So Russell was 2nd generation. Okay, this is overflowing. So let me remind you how fun this is. Let me just scooch this right over here. Can you see that? And we're just gonna, there we go. Look at that. Don't you love that? I love that. Okay, let's pull that up a minute and get the rest of this out. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think I've done that one in. Okay, last out. Then I can take this out and actually tip it. There we go. Okay, pulp is staying in here. And that is the end of that. Okay, all the juice is out. Now we're going to take this and just get all that juice just tossed, completely drenched and all over these apples. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely gorgeous, right? Who doesn't love a nice warm bowl of applesauce? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, half a cup of light brown sugar, which I forgot to grab. So 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I forgot to grab all of this. That's okay. We're going to grab it now. Lucy said, I've noticed that Liv looks very much like her mommy when she was a little girl. So did Harmony look like you? No, Russell looked like me when he was little, but Harmony looked like Tom. And Liv, in fact, there's a picture of me with a short pixie haircut when I was 5 years old. And interestingly enough, Russell had, at the age of 5 years old, a very similar haircut because it was in for boys at that time. And we pulled out that picture of me when I was 5 years old with the pixie short haircut, and we looked at it. And all of us were like, oh my God, that looks just like Russell in a dress. If Russell were in a dress right now, he would look exactly like that. It just was unbelievable. Okay, so I do have this. I have 2 teaspoons of the ground cinnamon. We're going to put that in. I just want to make sure I'm doing this in the right order. So let's see. Pour the apples, reserved apple peel, and juice in a non-reactive Dutch oven or enameled iron pot. Add the brown sugar, butter, cinnamon, and allspice, and cover the pot. Bake for an hour and a half. Okay, so just all goes in at once. Let's do that. Okay, so what have we got? We have got 2 teaspoons ground cinnamon. All right, ready? Nope, I'm not going to use these spoons because they're too big. I have these fabulous spoons that I guess it was Roseanne. I was thinking it was Teresa, but Joanne noted the long spoons, but Roseanne found these stackable spoons that are magnetic, which I love. So we've got 2 teaspoons. Here we go. So 1, to, well, this does have cinnamon in it, right? Even though I said that applesauce with latkes probably shouldn't, but I guess it does, right? And a half a teaspoon of ground allspice. So I wanted to make a point with all of you. The picture of me, I'll share it. Okay, so this is the picture of me and Russell. I mean, identical. So this is the ground allspice, and I don't know if any of you have seen this, but I love that this is just a half of an ounce usually of spices, which means that if they've been in your cupboard for a long while and you need to throw them out, you're just not throwing out a whole heck of a lot. You know how finicky I am about keeping something for too long. Spices lose their flavor. They don't go bad, but they lose their flavor when you have them for too long. So I'm not a fan of keeping things for too long. Okay, so a half a teaspoon of the ground allspice. So there we go. There's a half a teaspoon. Okay. And I'll put that back in these little boxes. This is called Spicely. They're organic and they come from Whole Foods. You got to be really careful now with the little bag that goes inside because it's now open and it's not sealed. So again, you lose a lot of stuff. We need 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 5 tablespoons, but I'll just go ahead and put the whole thing in. I think we'll be okay. I mean, can't have too much butter, right? And Joanne Baldessari is here. Thank you for being here. And let's see. I'm going to just cut this with the paring knife wherever I put that. There we go. Just so that it can spread itself around very easily. There we go. I will share that picture of Russell and me at the same age. But Harmony definitely, I remember I brought her home from the hospital and Tom's best friend had come in to see her from California. And we took the covers off of her so he could look into her face, and he just started laughing hysterically. And he said to me, "Oh my God, Marla, it was rent a womb. Rent a womb. That's all that happened here because this kid looks like a Letitia all the way." But as she got older, she definitely began to look like me. And now, we have the same mannerisms and, so many things are just so similar. So, okay. So now I'm going to go back over this recipe with all of you just real quickly, but I'm going to grab the brown sugar. It'll be the last thing that we throw in. So give me just a minute. Here I am. You can still hear me, I am sure. So I just want to make a point that this thing that I have used that Harmony got for me for my cupboards here, there's some orange zest that fell out. So this is right here, this terracotta disc. I soak it in water. I keep it in this container with the bag of brown sugar, and I am going to show you that this brown sugar is as supple as the day I opened the bag. Look at that. Isn't that, I mean, it amazes me. I want to tell you, I was making something, I can't remember what it was in the Channel 8 studios. I think it was pumpkin or something. I just don't remember what it was. It was in the food processor, and I measured it and put it in the food processor about 7 or 8 minutes before we hit the air because it needed to be all in there. And when I hit the button about 8 to 10 minutes later of that food processor, there was something in there that was hard. I thought maybe I dropped something in the container or whatever. The brown sugar in 10 minutes had hardened. The molasses had hardened into a ball. And I was like, I cannot believe that happened so quickly, but it did. So this little terracotta, it is made by OXO. It's called a terracotta disc by OXO. It is saving grace. Half cup light brown sugar. So here we go. Let's get this lightly packed. Okay, there we go. Maybe a little more for good measure. Why not? Tablespoon extra of butter. and a little extra brown sugar, right? Okay. So, I can smell that brisket. Okay, I'm going to wet this and I will put it away in just a minute. All right, so the last thing we're going to do now is I am going to transfer it because I'm going to keep it in this La Creuset or Le Creuset. I don't know how you say it. That could go into a gift basket. Oh, it could. Very good. That's a great idea. So I'm going to take this now and transfer it into this pot because it has the cover and we're going to cover it. And I should have just made it right in here to start with, but I think I needed the room to toss it all. There we go. Look at that. All those juices all at the bottom here. There we go. This in and of itself. So let me just go back over this recipe with you. It was 8 Granny Smith apples, 8 red apples, 3 of the apples. They're all cored and skinned. Hey, Doug Eisher, nice to see you. How are things in Florida? I think you're in Florida, right? Let's see. Let me start again. 8 Granny Smith apples, cored and peeled. 8 red, sweet, like Macintosh apples, cored and peeled, but I am keeping the skin of 3 of those apples into the pot because I think they're going to add some color, which gives it a nice rosy raspberry color. I used 2 large navel oranges. We zested them and we juiced them right over the top of this. We have a half cup light brown sugar, and I put in a little more for good measure. 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I put in 5. 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. They were a little high, those teaspoons, and a half teaspoon of ground allspice. They're all mixed in. I'm going to put this cover on it. How much you want to bet I can't even, oh God, I can't even lift this. And we're going to put this in an oven for an hour and a half. I will take a picture tonight when I take it out of the oven and show it to all of you. Because I mean, warm applesauce is just a very delectable thing to have this time of year. In fact, I think I might make this for Channel 8, not this next Thursday, but 2 Thursdays after. This will be a great dish to make. So for now, that's it for me. Thank you for joining me. Remember, join our Nanny Bubby holiday gather on December 14th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. $97 gets you a party ticket for a family. It's a family ticket. We're all going to have a nice cocktail together. I'll be giving you a side dish recipe. I'll be giving you an appetizer recipe. We'll talk through turkeys. We'll talk through prime ribs. If you want to talk about hams, you have to do that together, and that will be fun to hear everybody's ham idea, if that's what you make for your Christmas, or whatever else your Christmas tradition is going to be. We'll share ideas. We'll ask questions of each other. I mean, everybody needs a cooking confidence coach. I have one. Every once in a while, I get all pent up and like, oh my God, what should I do? I need to call somebody. I have to ask advice. And so I have somebody that's my 911 call when it comes to cooking. And may I just say that the first 5 people who booked get a one-on-one 30-minute call with Nanny Bubby, just one-on-one, asking questions, whatever you want to ask. I'll be on that call on Zoom with you, and we'll get to work and get to business. Thank you so much for joining me every day here. And thank you for joining the masterclass those last 2 days. I really had a good time. It was, I was encouraged to do it. I had resisted for several months, but I'd been asked to do it, encouraged to do it, and I'm really glad that I did it now. So thank you all for joining me. So on the count, have a wonderful weekend. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go out and spread love like butter. Bye, everybody. Happy weekend.